dumbest way to compete. Craig, a new reader who found this newsletter via my appearance on the Smashing the Plateau podcast, sent me a fantastic example of the dumbest possible way to compete as an expert. What Craig sent me was a screenshot of a LinkedIn post by a lawyer that is so dumb I had to break it down for you point by point. Sadly, part of what this guy is doing is so common I see experts doing it all the time, with the worst possible results for themselves. What is mind-boggling about this example is that this guy knows what he's doing and he does it anyway. He even delights in it. It's madness. What I'm going to do, a bit different from usual, is because the newsletter then links away to a blog post where I break this LinkedIn post down, I'm going to go through that blog post with you and break it down for you. So first what I'll do is I will read this lawyer's post on LinkedIn. I've blurred out his face because this isn't about an individual. It's about making a point to save you from making any kind of mistake like this, although I'm sure you wouldn't. It is not about taking on an individual and making any individual look foolish. So I'll read the post first and then I'm going to break it down. So this lawyer writes, "My NYC big law friend bills at close to $2,000 an hour. My rate is less than a quarter of his. We're both partners. We have the same number of years in practice. We both graduated with honours from law school. I went to the higher ranked school on a full ride. I dare say we have a similar level of competence, not to mention my partners who have been practicing 3 and 4 times as long as us, who are the experts in their areas and whose rates are still well below half of my friends. None of this is news to anyone, which is why it's surprising I don't get more calls like the one I get periodically that goes something like this. We're looking for a sophisticated Midwestern firm to do our mid-sized deals because we're sick of paying Washington, D.C. rates that end up totaling a large fraction of the entire size of the deal. Go west, go Midwest, young man. You'll find good people and low overheads." So let's translate that post line by line. First line, "My NYC big law friend bills at close to $2,000 an hour. My rate is less than a quarter of his." Translation, price is the most important consideration when deciding between 2 lawyers. Next line, "We're both partners." Translation, our job titles are the same, so keep your eye on our prices. Next line, "We have the same number of years in practice." Translation, on another irrelevant measure of ability, there's nothing to choose between us, so keep your eye on those prices. Next line, "We both graduated with honours from law school." Translation, a decade or more ago, we did equally well at school, so keep your eye on our prices. Next line, "I went to the higher ranked school on a full ride." Translation, I'm insecure and a bit of a dick. Next line, "I dare say we have a similar level of competence." Translation, if you haven't got it yet, how much clearer do I need to make it? The only difference between us is price. Next line, "Not to mention my partners who have been practicing 3 and 4 times as long as us, who are experts in their areas." Translation, neither my friend nor I know as much as you might need us to. Next line, "and whose rates are still well below half of my friends." Translation, in case you'd forgotten that price is the only difference between my friend and me, the lawyers in my firm who actually know the things you need are also cheaper than their apparently identical counterparts in my friend's firm. Next line, "which is why it's surprising I don't get more calls like the one I get periodically that goes something like this. We're looking for a sophisticated Midwestern firm to do our mid-sized deals because we're sick of paying Washington, D.C. rates that end up totaling a large fraction of the entire size of the deal." Translation, I know the big city guys will never trust me with their big jobs, but why don't they call me for their small jobs? I might be in the sticks, but I'm cheap. Final line, "Go Midwest, young man. You'll find good people and low overheads." Translation, I'm a patronizing ass, but remember, I'm cheap. Positioning death spiral. I've worked for hundreds of lawyers, so I can say with authority that this LinkedIn post is both typical and atypical. What's typical is the mistaken belief that your job title and years in the game matter to your clients. Here's why that's mad. Client, How long have you been doing this? Lawyer, 21 years. Client, oh, shame. I met a partner yesterday who's been doing it for 22 years. I'd best give her my work because those extra 12 months on the clock, well, that'll obviously make all the difference. What makes this LinkedIn lawyer atypical is that I've never seen anyone actually connect the dots of this argument for their clients to say explicitly, the usual ways we distinguish ourselves as lawyers, title, years in practice, education, are pretty silly because they're generally much of a muchness. I recommend you skip over those meaningless differentiators and go straight for nailing us on price. Imagine the logical conclusion of this guy's pitch. Client, what do you charge? Lawyer, $500 an hour, just a quarter of what your NYC big boys charge you. Client, I found a lawyer further west who charges $300 an hour. Let's say you halve your rate to $250 an hour, then we'll talk. So how do you differentiate yourself? When you know how, it's not hard to differentiate yourself on dimensions that 1, matter to your clients, 2, you can make unique to you. The secret is identifying what your clients are truly buying when they hire you, which I guarantee you is not what you think you're selling. To help you nail exactly that, Trudy Rankin and I created the masterclass, Yes You, How to Convince and Convert High-Value Clients with Magnetic Messaging. The masterclass answers the question of why some coaches, consultants, and business owners have to justify their worth endlessly or compromise their values, while others have their pick of clients ready to pay what they're worth. As you've seen from our lawyer's example, it's all about positioning yourself in a way that makes you the obvious choice for your ideal client, not the cheapest answer. In this online masterclass, you'll discover the secrets of positioning yourself authentically, confidently, and persuasively as the obvious choice for your clients. Make this your time. You'll never be overlooked again after you take the masterclass. You've been watching or listening to The Obvious Choice, the Taylor's newsletter, read by me, Stephen Lewis. As always, all the links are in your show notes. So that's the link to Yes You, the masterclass, to my Smashing the Plateau episode, and to sign up for this newsletter to make sure that you get every edition fresh, hot, and useful to your inbox.